Hey everybody, it's Bust with week 6 of the Champion Draft Series. This week we're up against Dizimando of RNG, owned, headlined, managed by, played with, battled by LGames Brazil. And so, if you haven't been following along up to this point, we are currently 1-4, not in last place. I think Grandpa Roji actually holds the last place position right now, but certainly not doing that well. I must say, though, all of our matches have been extremely close. All of our matches have gone to 3 games, and most of the games have been exceptionally close. There hasn't been too many blowouts across the board, and there's actually been some pretty epic games along the way. There were some fantastic games against Shada X last week, and if you like the decks we're playing today, there's a lot of similarities to what we'll be playing today, but it's been quite edited, if you will, compared to what we brought last week. So to moving forward, we do still have the opportunity to make the top cut. The top 6 teams will make the top cut, and so I think you only have to go 4 and 5 to make it. And so we can still finish 5 and 4, right? We can finish out strong, but it's definitely going to be a long shot. I just know from my years of fantasy football, as you have players or teams that continue on without losing, right? As players hit 5 and 1 and 6 and 1 and the like. That really opens up the space at the bottom of the brackets for people to jump in with losing records. And so that's what we're going to have to do. We're really going to try and turn things around here at the backside of the season. But to get you familiar with LGames Brazil's lineup, let's see the draft that he's picked. And here we have LGames Brazil's champions, very aggressively oriented set of champions. Looking through his deck lists, I'm pretty certain that he's brought the most aggressive lineups out of anyone over the course of this event. And so just kind of quickly glancing at the champions, expecting a kind of aggressively oriented slant of things. Teemo can pair off with pretty much anything. You can have, say, Teemo Gnar, like in the ways it would have Teemo Sejuani. He can also pair off into Shadow Isles, more commonly in the constructed space, you would see something like Teemo Elise, but the Teemo Shadow Isles burn deck with the Doom Beasts and Unto Dusks and stuff is certainly a deck. He has the full Ephemerals package. He's not shown in the mix here. I don't remember exactly what the trade was, but he does have access to Azir. And so he has the full Ephemerals package in Azir, Hecarim, Zed, and Irelia. And so it's very possible for him to play just super aggro tokeny kind of stuff with Hecarim, Zed, along with Irelia, Azir. I don't think he's gone that route up to this point. He certainly brought ephemerals, but not things like tokens. Otherwise, the things that he's been bringing a lot of are actually the Fearsomes deck. Any of these Shadow Isles champions can just play the Mistwraith Fearsomes. That was actually one of the decks that we were looking to draft. We were looking to just pick up a Nocturne so that we could play the Fearsomes deck. We did not find that Nocturne, but he has played pretty much every flavor of Fearsomes that there can be. He's done it with Senna, he's done it with Callista, he's done it with Hecarim. I think one week he just brought triple Fearsomes, and it's just a very easy thing to do. You just play all the Fearsome cards and Teemo, right? Or you play all the Fearsome cards and Zed. It's a very reasonable strategy to undertake. Otherwise, the kind of final thing that he's been doing a lot of is bringing ramp decks. He does have multiple Freylord champions with the Gnar and the Anivia and the Tryndamere, and so he's been bringing some Feel the Rush style of decks. At one point with he did have Volibear, and he brought Volibear ramp. He's since traded him away, but the same thing can be said. If you have a Freylord champion, you can bring just a big ramp deck out of nowhere. And so I think that kind of gets us honed in on what to expect. I'm kind of approaching this match very similarly to how we expected this event to go at the beginning of the season, as to where we wanted to play concurrent timelines against everything. We don't want to play concurrent timelines against Cosmic Call. And so we just kind of felt like we could ban out the one Cosmic Call deck. There shouldn't be too many players with 2 Cosmic Call decks. If you have to play against it once, fine, whatever. It certainly shouldn't be people with 3 of them, which was the mistake of the century. But I think that we can take a very similar strategy up against this. Everything that he's doing seems like it should be very aggressively oriented, whether or not that's playing Teemo Burn, playing Darius Gnar, playing tokens of some flavor. I think that there's going to be a lot of aggression coming out of this. this, but there's probably going to be maybe a third deck that's just a ramp deck. And so as far as this goes, like against the burn decks, I think we're going to be set. I've designed my lineup to be okay against that. Against tokens, same deal. Tokens is the actual big deck I've really designed our lineup to face up and be around. And then if the fearsomes turn up, I've also made some concessions in terms of making our units bigger. But I think the big thing that really summarizes what the lineup we've put together is designed to deal with is the tokens deck. And so we're going to have various flavors of things across all of our decks, be it Omen Hawks to block Green Glade duos or a bunch of tough units to block the little Azir plays. The idea that we're going to have is that if ramp decks show up, we're going to ban that. If the fearsomes decks turn up, I'm fine to play against it. You know, our units are going to have meaty enough stats to be able to handle some fearsomes, and then we're really directing ourselves towards tokens. The kind of downside for the opponent in terms of tokens is that if he does decide to bring Teemo Burn, then Teemo Burn gets kind of like incidentally targeted by our anti-token strategy, and I think that that should hopefully leave us in a good place. And so to bring up our deck lists, first and foremost, we have Poppy Jarvan Elites again. This is the most similar to the decks that we brought last week. We've made some minor edits. The things that I really like in terms of facing down tokens decks are kind of like blocking longevity, if you will. The way that they really get you is when you have to start trading units for the opposing Sand Soldiers or the opposing just smaller ephemeral type plays that they don't care to lose. The ways that you could kind of go about that is going to be boosting your unit's stats, and it's going to be with tough. And so I really like what Elites already brought to the table in terms of just having a gigantic set of unit boosting with Bird and Battlesmith and Poppy and the Vanguard Bannerman. And then it also just has access to tough, right? Vanguard Defender is a 3/3 tough, shuts down essentially the entirety of the tokens deck. It just manages everything except Green Glade Duo. But then we also have the Ranger's Resolve in here. What you tend to see against a lot of the tokens-based strategies is they're going to play a blade dance. They're going to attack with the two little blades and maybe one or two Sand Soldiers. Those 1/1s are all coming across the board. You put your blocks up and you play Ranger's Resolve. You completely shut down the attack. And then as the secondary attack looks to come in when the actual units attack, all of your stuff still has tough. And so you might have to block a sparring student just to prevent the damage. But in terms of all of the other cards, you get the kind of nice shutdowns. And so I do like Ranger's Resolve in that space. It also works out fantastically against tokens, and it can do similar things against fearsomes. What you'll see against a lot of games against fearsomes is they'll play like a Mist Wraith, and they'll play a three attack Spider, and then they'll play a Wraith Caller, and they have a bunch of 3 attackers on the board. If you're able to shut that attack down with a Ranger's Resolve, then you just basically win the game. And so I like what it does against a lot of his matchups. It's not great against ramp. If he does decide to go off the wall and bring multiple ramp decks, he's been playing Blighted Ravines and not playing Avalanches, so you can't get the destruction there. But I really like what Elite brings across the table, and so I've basically played a very similar list. We flipped around some of the numbers on the rallies so that they would be a little bit cheaper with the Golden Aegis, and then the Ranger's Resolves coming in to give us a bit of a boost against tokens. Up next, deck number 2, we have Jax Braum. We did bring this last week, but it was much more focused on Bone Club. And I will say, I was really interested in the way that we should play our Braum and our Trundle. We're going to be playing Trundle as well. I'm not certain how to approach it in the sense that I expect most of our opponents to just ban Jax, and I kind of want to put the worst of the 2 champions with Jax if Jax is going to be the one that just gets banned, right? And so we're going to be playing a kind of Braum-centric deck as our third one. And so I was kind of interested in having Braum paired off with LeBlanc, but at the end of the day, I think he still works fine within the Weapon Master's package, being able to boost him with Omen Hawk or be able to give him the bonus from just a random equipment, he can still make reasonable attacks. And so last week we had a lot of flavors from Akaido and his Eternal winning deck list. We had some flavors with the Bone Club style of thing. Here, I felt like we should just do a couple of things. Number one, I really want to be ultra low to the ground in terms of what our units do. So we have the full sets of Flavored Artisans and the full sets of Ruthless Raiders so that we have the early game blockers to try and prevent some of the opposing aggression. Again, we have the tough coming out of the Ruthless Raider. I really like him against decks like Tokens. Up next, we have the full heal package as the ways to try and fight through the early game aggression if we stumble a little bit. So we have the full set of Blacksmiths and the full set of Hearthblood Menders to hopefully get our health total up into a safe space. And then here we aren't playing the Avarosian Outriders. I think the opposing decks are going to be too fast, and we're not playing Bone Club in the same vein. I think that we really need to get our early game aggression down. The thing I will call out, we have the 2 copies of Scholarly Pioneer. It is a absolute monster against tokens, being able to blow up things like Emperor's Diaz, or to be able to give the Explorer Quicksand onto a Greenglade Duo or something. It has a lot of very fantastic targets, and so I wanted to make sure it got its way in here. Last but not least, in terms of our kind of removal package, the things that I have in mind with it are I don't want to play Troll Chant. Troll Chant is not good against Fearsomes, and it's only kind of mediocre against tokens, right? You don't find too many spots to where we attack with 2/3/3s into our opponent's 3/3s, and then we just get the straight up 2-for-1 off of Troll Chant. That doesn't really happen against tokens. They attack you with like 1 10 power unit and 5 1 power units, and so the fish fight or the Troll Chant doesn't really do anything there. And against Fearsomes, if you just can't block the unit, then it doesn't matter at all. And so we've gone with the full 3 copies of Sky Splitter along with 3 Sisters. 3 Sisters here being able to drop a Flash Freeze on a big Greenglade Duo, drop a Flash Freeze on a Hecarim or something, otherwise having access to that combat trick. Last but not least, we are playing LeBlanc Trundle again, but kind of tuned into what we expect to see. The big addition with this version of LeBlanc Trundle is we're playing Spirits Unleashed. Again, it gives us that way to boost the size of all of our units so that they can block a Blade Dance kind of for free, if you will. There's a lot of 1 health units running across the tokens decks, and this lets you clear out a bunch of Greenglade Duos and Sparring Students, and then it just lets us, get double value out of stuff like House Spider. And so happy to kind of switch into this. The reason I was kind of tying this into Braum is I did kind of feel like looking more towards like a Scar Groundsy kind of list, as it does manage these just low to the ground attacky style decks quite well. We didn't quite go that far, but the big meta tech card of the day is going to be the Scarthane Stefan. Just an absolute unit in terms of stat size. I like having the 2/4 stat line being able to block units multiple times, but where we're going to be able to hopefully get a bunch of value out of this is if we say put the Stefan down and then play Spirits Unleashed. It gets the +4 attack. We get a block to where it doesn't die. It's going to have a total of 9 attack, and then we play Might on it and have that 11 attack Overwhelm. And so we do have a ton of targets for Might to be quite good in here between the Enraged Fire Spitter and the Scarthane Stefan and the Trundle and the LeBlanc, and just a very high-powered collection of Overwhelms. And so I think that a lot of the things here should work out nicely. I like the Spirits Unleashed. We're playing both the 3 Sisters and the Sky Splitter again for the same reasons we were in the Jax Orn deck, and then we kept everything pretty low to the ground, right? We have the 8 2-drops that can get into the 2-for-1 space against smaller units, the Omen Hawks and the like to help our units grow and come out and block Greenglade Duos, and then the singular Scholarly Pioneer to help combat some of those problem spaces like tokens. And so that's it. That's the decks, the same champions, but slightly different deck lists across the board. But before we dive into battle, before we look at the opposing deck list, before we know what's coming on, we got to go in and do one thing. We got to pay that pay-to-win price. There's only one option left, only one thing. Our friend Scrutinizing Sergeant here needs to be turned premium, and now we're good to go. All of our cards prismatic, all the skins where they're available. We even got Santa Braum out here ready to go in the winter season. Looks good, feeling good. Let's pull up LGames deck lists and see if we were on point with what we're going to be battling and what we can be doing here today. Okay, so pulling up the opponent's deck list. Deck number one, Senna Anivia, the infinite Anivia thing, LOL. Never playing against this. This is in the space of ramp and stuff. I was expecting at least one ramp deck to turn up. We certainly have one here. Never playing against this nonsense. Up for deck number two, we have Hecarim Zed, which looks a touch odd to me in the sense that I thought they typically played a little bit more spells. I thought they played like the thing that gives +2/+2 an ephemeral, or they play Shadow Isles, Tellstones, and stuff. It seems very, very, very unit centric, but it is also lacking in the landmarks. Right, this isn't playing the Black Flame. It isn't playing. It's only playing 2 opulent foyers, and so not a ton there. But we do have a few answers to these ephemeral unit or elusive units, at least with the Shadow Apprentice, Greenglade Duo, and Shadow Assassin, all being manhandled by Omenhawk, manhandled by Omenhawk, if you will. So I'm okay to leave this one up. Last but not least, we have Teemo Callista Burn. This one we're definitely keeping up. This is the kind of thing that I was really hoping we would be able to come out here and beat up on, and so. Nothing too crazy with this one. If you're not familiar with it because you haven't seen it here recently, it's just a big old burn deck. It tries to come at you as fast as it possibly can. And then where, say, like Noxen style burn decks would typically go over the top with Decimates and Noxen Fervors, this puts Used Cast Salesman on the board for the casks, and then Doom Beast being the big one. Doom Beast draining 2, and then you can come in, Fading Memories your Doom Beast and play it again, and you can Unto Dusk your Doom Beast, activate that ability again, and draw a card. And so very, very, very low to the ground and fast. I'm curious to see what the opponent looks to ban in this space. Seeing these deck lists turn up, I would assume that Poppy Jarvan or Jax Braum is the one. Jax Braum is, again, the one that I expect to get the actual ban here, as playing against something like Teemo Callista, having all of the heal is kind of problematic for them, especially with our very low to the ground curve with the 9 2-drops and stuff. So I suspect that one's going to go. Then we're going to be out here with LeBlanc, Trundle, and Poppy Jarvan, which is completely fine. But yeah, I think this is the kind of space to where if opponent was playing, say, like 3 ramp decks or 2 ramp decks and something else, there might be a decision in terms of this Anivia deck, because playing against Anivia on the ladder, like I play a lot of the same decks that we have here, a lot of these mid-rangey kind of stylings on the ladder as well, and it's winnable. You really have to come in and kind of navigate the Anivia and try to keep it from dying and stuff, but given the lineup that the opponent has, I don't want to have to play against this. Now, the kind of downside to playing against both Zed Hecarim and the Burn deck is they just beat anything, right? If you stumble even a little bit, these decks will annihilate you. And sometimes they just have those oops, I win draws as well, where it's like, oh boy, here's a Shadow Apprentice into a Greenglade Duo, into a Stagehand and another unit, and then they just nug you for like 15 and kill you with a Dragon Ambush on the next attack. And so these are all certainly losable matches. I feel like we might be a little bit favored in terms of these things, and ideally we can beat up on the Burn deck just a little bit. And so those are the decks. That's the strategy. Let's jump on into battle. All right, off we go. Where are we at? We got the elites, got the heal deck, if you will. We got the Scargrounds up and at it. Let's see how it goes. All right, where you at, Senna? See ya. Get that out of here. Let's see if that Jax gets banned. He certainly does, and we'll kick things off with elites. We've been having the least success with Poppy, I feel like. It's a sad day for her. She deserves to get all of the wins. I feel like out of our last four games, she's only won like 25%, and so hopefully this will be her time to shine. But moving forward, up against Callista Teemo to kick things off, I'm good to start with Cytherea and Bird, and having this nice, just something to do in the early game. Otherwise, Poppy is just so powerful, especially when we're on the even attacks. I think that we're going to want to keep her. It's especially as we run into these situations to where, say, opponent comes in and drops a the guy that makes the used cask salesman. It still gives us effective attacks when Poppy's boosting our team, even if the salesman doesn't allow us to deal any combat damage. All right, this is bad though. This is disaster mode. This is how you get wrecked by the aggro deck, huh? You come out, you start with your friends, and then all the expensive friends turn up. really need to play. Vanguard Squire was, while not ultra clutch, you know, it's what we need. We got to have something to put on the board. Can't block Callista here. We can start to get rolling after this turn. We can get the Poppy down. We can start to grow on turn 5 with the Bannerman and then have Jarvan on turn 6. It's not terrible, but not the most effective way to be spending the mana. So let's kick off with Poppy. It should be fairly tough for him to deal with her. At worst, she's going to get a block and a spell like a Get Excited or something, but he doesn't have a ton of burn within this deck. That's what strikes me as what's about to happen to us, is he's going to block with the Ballistic Bot and then play a Mystic Shot to take down Poppy. But this is still a very strong board for her, and we still have a very nice curve happening within this. Ooh. Ooh, the Callista goes down. Interesting. Ballistic Bot number 2. Okay, well, I'm pretty on board with this Scrutinizing Sergeant for the next turn. Getting 2 units out of it into Jarvan is going to be quite strong. Ooh, I thought we were going to completely whiff. Okay. Well, Cytherea turns up. Could definitely do worse. And then I'm curious on this next turn how much we even want to play Jarvan. Like, he has to be the play, right? We have to just be dropping Jarvan in this space. But we do have the option to you know, get the free stuff on board with the Squire and the Bannerman. But I have to envision that you know, some of our units are going to die in combat, namely Poppy. And then being able to play the Vanguard Squire for free after the fact is a pretty big deal. Now, that Champion Strength does definitely have to give us some pause, in the sense that, you know, if we get a pretty big clear on the board this turn, we can just go for it. But it requires us to play Bannerman right now instead of playing Jarvan. Is that okay? Like, how does this play out? We play Bannerman, we get the 3 bank, we attack with everybody, and then we get to follow up with Vanguard Squire for free. The big thing with the Bannerman is, well, the Doom Beast can just block and kill Poppy, so she's going to die either way. But I just don't like the Jarvan in this space. I really want to be on this Champion Strength play. It even kind of works out, like, if he has a removal for Poppy, it sucks, but we can still follow up with the Squire if that's the case. So as it stands, he can take us to 7 with just the cards in his hand, but then we gotta count on this next turn to be able to punch stuff through. Seeing Doom Beast fall is kind of interesting. He's just sitting there doing the finger math, seeing how much burn he can roll through. But it's hopefully kind of far. Like, assuming he doesn't block with any of these ballistic bots, it would be 2 damage here, 2 damage next turn for 4, and then he wouldn't have to, like, directly kill us next turn. He doesn't know that we have Champion Strength in hand, and so that does give him, like, a little bit more reach in the sense of being able to play, like, a Get Excited on our next attack token. All right, well, I don't know what you're doing right now, but I'm clenching my cheeks. Squeezed. They're squeezed real tight. You gotta fade the 7 damage on this turn. See what we can do. I got my Champion Strength locked and loaded. This looks like it's probably gonna be a Doom Beast coming in. No. That's the way it goes. Damn. Thought we were gonna get there. Thought we were gonna get there. That's tough. Like that's a match where you do have to come in and prevent like literally every single point of damage. I feel like we did, right? I don't think he got any attacks in to where he was able to deal damage. I don't think so. But I like the angle we took. I think that's definitely better going for the champion's strength as opposed to the Jarvan. Just for that exact thing to say he plays his ignition and then plays a Doom Beast. After we've championed strength, we still have the chance to kill. To where if if you look at that hand to where he just dropped 3 Mystic Shots on us, he can go into our next attack token and still play all of the Mystic Shots. And so I think that's reasonable. Now here, I'm going to mulligan away the Poppy. It's just too slow in this space. We need to be guaranteed to have a cheaper play. We got some that turned up. Got our friend, the full-priced Vanguard Squire, ready to come out here and come down for 3. All right, well, I think we got to get the dog in. As far as his units go, I'll trade it with pretty much anything. If he's got a Green Glade Duo or something, it's fine. Soul Shepherd, Soul Shepherd makes me take that statement back. But I feel like there's just a really high percentage chance you get to attack here. Now this is where the bummers start, right? We haven't had any way to cheapen up the Vanguard Squire. I think we still just have to run it out right now at this point, so he doesn't get the free attack with the Soul Shepherd. So expensive, Vanguard Squire. So expensive, my friend. Alright, well, we'll take the combats that we win. He doesn't have any combat tricks, so we don't have to worry about our units dying here. And this will hopefully, at least get us set up reasonably for a Golden Aegis into a Jarvan attack, maybe into a second Golden Aegis. Curious how much damage he's going to be able to deliver here. He hasn't had one of these like obnoxious high-powered draws with Shark Chariots. So we might be okay. Might be. And the thing that can be interesting about this spot is he's limited in board space, so he can't really add things like Haunted Relic to get a bunch of units on the board, just because the space isn't there. So it makes me feel a little bit safer. I think this is going to be a Dragon Ambush coming in, which we have decent blocks against, but it does boost his ephemerals pretty big. Right, the Dragon Ambush with the 2 Soul Shepherds on board gives them +2/+2, and then his apprentices get the +2 attack as well. It's pretty close to the lethal, if that's what rolls through. All right, well, I'm gonna bring it.
You cannot escape.
Almost lethal, such a place to be, huh? That's where we live. Now, as it stands, say if he spends all of his mana and doesn't have Dragon Ambush, it does put us in a spot to where we can potentially attack through this stuff next turn. Now he's gaining 1,000,000. It's going to be a bit problematic. We do have the Ranger's Resolve to partially fight through this, right? We can put a Vanguard Squire in front of the Dragonling to the right. It does prevent a point of damage that way. What are we taking here? I think we're stuck having to block.
For my homeland.
It's just way too much damage. Like we can eat the 6 this turn. That's kind of whatever. But if we fall all the way down, we're just so aced. Can't block the ephemerals. Oh, this is such a bad spot. So I mean, can Jarvan even do anything? He's going to do more than Battlesmith. Just like attacking and then rallying doesn't do anything. So I think we got to send squad. Jarvan will hook a Soul Shepherd, and then maybe next turn we can get him with an Aegis. It's going to be a stretch. It's going to be a reach. I'm not feeling particularly strong about this space. Get him right. Get him right back down to that 1. The classic the classic saying of your life total doesn't matter until it gets to 0. What a rough spot to be in. He's got to at least make one more block, right? He's getting lethaled if he doesn't. He's deciding if he wants to kill the unit in the Vanguard Squire or take the extra damage and fall. Ooh. What's this? We're just going to get Hecarim'd next turn? We deal with Hecarim because our Jarvan's going to flip, right? If he plays Hecarim... Well, if he plays Hecarim right now, we can't Cataclysm him, but if he plays Hecarim next turn, we get the chance. I don't know what's worse. That seems pretty bad for us next at any stage of the game, the Hecarim coming down, but we would prefer the one that we can kill with this Cataclysm. There he is. So I don't think we're dead to an open. He's got a ways to go. So we're gonna take 6 off of the Apprentice, 7 because of the Hallowed 1. But I don't think there's not any cards we have to worry about, right? Because we've seen his deck list. It has very limited stuff in that sense. So what is that goes to... He's going to have 9 attacks, so we have to switch from Cataclysming Hecarim, which we can block Hecarim and get the kill, right? We have the form up in hand. We have to take these off of the board. The Shadow Apprentices have to go. So does Hecarim flip off of this? He's 1 short of the flip. You'd have to pull back the Shadow Apprentice to get the full round of attackers. Now, I remember the classic Hecarim to where he had to be on board to deliver the bonus effects. That's not the way that he works anymore. And so don't have to worry about it in that sense. But this will take us to 1. Our Jarvan's gonna die in this space, so I think we do want to play the form up. So at least if he has like the Dragon Ambush or something, we're not dead. And again, no combat tricks to worry about here. His only spells were the Ambush and the Haunted Relics. So ideally, we're going to get to just put the dude on the board and then open attack next turn and get the kill. Unit comes in. Unit comes in. So what's our angle on this? I think we can like definitely add the Vanguard Defender for free. It's up to our second play though, as to do we want to Cataclysm or Bannerman. The thing with the Defender though is it does allow us to make an attack and then play Golden Aegis. So I think that's definitely the play. It leaves us the most options in hand. We can still just say, you know, he's forced to play a unit at this point. Then we can just attack with everybody. But if it's not going to be like an attack with everybody kind of turn, something like Haunted Relic comes in, we do have the chance to pivot away from this. And so we can't attack, right? His blocks are too good, but we can Cataclysm into the ding. I'd assume he's going to have another unit to follow up with, right? That's that's what's in the deck. That's what we have to play around is just more units. But it needs to be like a oh shit, god damn it. We still just can't attack, right? It's like fucking A. Like we can't get through the Shadow Assassin. Right, we attack with everybody. He blocks with the little 1/1s. He puts the Boisterous Host in front of Jarvan, and then we have no attacks after that. God, so close. So close.
The Yordle here's with me.
Does that change anything? I don't think so. All right. What's going to do it? We'll pass. I don't. We need him to do something really weird. I don't think it exists. I don't. It's just too easy to send the units in. That's going to do it. Damn. So that's tough. The thing I'm kind of curious with in this space is in our deck building we included the form ups. I'm curious if we wouldn't have been better off coming out with the coming out with sharp sights, so that we would have been in a spot to where we could come in and block the elusive units. But man, that's tough. Like that's the thing with these decks. Like I feel like we were probably pretty favored against these. It's just you don't want to have to play a best of 1 against Teemo Kalista, right? If we had the option to play a best of 75 against Teemo Kalista, I feel like we would take that one down. But anytime you're out here in a best of 1, they certainly have the chance to come in and overrun you. And so that's a bummer. Like I feel like we were in such a good spot with these. I like how we played the first game, setting up the champion strength. We did have the bummer situation of both, to where we on turn 3 we played the 3 mana elite. Like in this game 1 here, having a 1-drop into a 1-drop into a 3 mana elite was not really the curve you're looking for. Like the mulligan of Poppy, Bannerman, Jarvan champion strength into the Teemo deck is a bit painful, but it is what it is. I like how we played it. With the Zed Hecarim match, that was very, very close. The other thing that could be said about this one, I don't know how it came together. I don't quite remember if we had the opportunity to take some of these Halloweds away. But we got him to that like 1 health twice, and then he got to recover back out with the dragon ambushes. And there was a couple of points of health gain in there because of the Hallowed unit being left over, and so maybe there was something there as well. But man, I'm not certain what to think of these anymore. Like it just has to be like we have to stop playing Poppy or something. Like I'm trying to think like over the course of the event how many games we've won with Poppy, and I know we got O2'd in this one. We got 1 win and 1 loss against Shada, and then in the previous one we got 0-2'd as well. And so with the 6 previous games of playing various iterations of Poppy, we've won 1 game. And I think that this is just like the space to where it's just not working out, and it's tough. I'm not certain what the problem with Poppy has been, but she has just been getting annihilated week after week after week after week after week after week after week. How many weeks is this? Week 6? I think we've played Poppy every week, and she probably has like a 25% win rate. And so maybe that's something that we should have picked up a little bit sooner. I mean, it feels to me like the Poppy decks are all super strong, but maybe we're just wrong in that sense as we're trying to figure out how we landed at 1 and 5 in this space. But nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. Hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way. You had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.